It won't be long before Star Wars fans are treated to a standalone anthology film focused solely on the iconic smuggler Han Solo. But for the first time in the franchise's history, the role won't be going to Harrison Ford. For some frustrated fans, this is tantamount to blasphemy, but did you know the character of Han Solo could have been totally unrecognizable to present-day audiences? This is the Han Solo you didn't know, presented by Wendy's Jalapeno Fresco Spicy Chicken. Star Wars as a whole almost didn't happen, and underwent a lot of drastic changes before it finally did happen. At one point, Luke was a girl, Darth Vader was a bounty hunter, and Han Solo was a large green alien with gills. A few rewrites later, George Lucas's script began to resemble the Star Wars we all know and love, but Han Solo still didn't quite resemble Harrison Ford. In fact, the early concept art makes him look a little bit like a certain director. When casting Star Wars, George Lucas was dead set on using actors he hadn't already worked with, and since Harrison Ford had appeared in American Graffiti, that was a big nope. In fact, at one point the idea was to cast an African-American Han Solo, an Asian Princess Leia and Obi-Wan, and have the rest of the cast be mostly played by little people. That could have been very strange, but progressive. Harrison Ford, meanwhile, had a variety of lesser-known roles, but also worked as a carpenter to help pay the rent. Following the success of The Godfather, director Francis Ford Coppola hired Ford to renovate his office, the office where Lucas, coincidentally, was holding auditions for female leads for Star Wars. Since Ford and Lucas already had a rapport, the director had him sit in and read Han's lines during the Princess Leia audition process, and in spite of Lucas's reluctance to reuse actors, he eventually realized that Harrison Ford was the perfect fit for Han Solo. Though very few people anticipated the worldwide success of Star Wars, Lucas had hired sci-fi author Alan Dean Foster to plot out a low-budget sequel, but following the film's unforeseen reception, his treatment was adapted instead into a novel and released to the public as Splinter of the Mind's Eye. Of course, Star Wars was a success, and as we all know, Han Solo returned to play an even bigger role in The Empire Strikes Back, but that role took a while to shape up, and while Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher had signed on for a third Star Wars sequel, Harrison Ford had only agreed to return for Empire, so further involvement of Han Solo wasn't indefinite. So early versions of the script didn't end with Han being dramatically frozen in carbonite and getting left on a cliffhanger, but just sort of peacing out after escaping Cloud City with Luke and Leia. Ford has said on numerous occasions that he wished that Han Solo had sacrificed himself for the rebellion and that his death would have given a real weight to the trilogy's conclusion. Of course, that didn't happen either, and Harrison Ford reprised his iconic role for The Force Awakens last year, but a younger version of the character very nearly appeared in another Star Wars movie, Revenge of the Sith. Early concept art shows a younger Han Solo who would have shown up on Kashyyyk, where he was being raised by Chewbacca and his fellow Wookiees, and while this might sound like corny, tacked-on prequel nonsense, it actually is part of George Lucas's original vision on record, and he first talked about it when giving background information about the characters in an interview following A New Hope's release. Thankfully, we didn't see young Han Solo in Episode 3, that could have been real bad, but with Disney at this very moment in the process of casting a lead for the Solo movie and a release date of May 25th, 2018, it's only a matter of time before we have someone other than Harrison Ford to associate with the character. What about you guys? Do you think anyone besides Harrison Ford can properly portray our beloved Corellian smuggler? Well, argue amongst yourselves in the comments, but don't get cocky. For all things Star Wars, keep it right here on IGN, and may the Force be with you.